What is going on with this huge market collapse that everyone has been predicting for 2022, possibly going into 2023? Are we expecting that moving forward? Are we seeing signs of it right now? Are we expecting this really going into the future? My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And today, we're looking at what's going on in the real estate market here in Anchorage, looking specifically at the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market. There's a lot to unpack here, so we'll get to it as quickly as we can before we get started. Like the video, subscribe, and let's get on with it. Now, the first thing that we're seeing is on the residential side, there's actually less inventory available on the market now than what we had this time last year. This time last year, there was approximately 500 homes that were available on the market, which was low for the time. Now we're sitting at 420, which is even less inventory than we had before. So that's number one. Inventory is actually going down from what we've had recently. The next thing that we're seeing is the number of properties that actually sold in the market during that time frame has actually dropped as well. There was about 330 of them that sold this time last year. Now it's about 250, which is the largest drop for the number of properties that sold since July, where I think it was roughly about 380 if I recall correctly, and it did drop down to I think it was about 280 as well. So we're seeing a pretty big drop in the number of properties that have actually sold. Now, the next thing that we're going to be talking about, and I'm sure everybody is thinking about, is what's going on with the average sold price. Well, this has not gone anywhere. So the average sold price this time last year was about $424,000. Now it's $455,000. Which means we're actually sitting at about a 7.9% increase year over year, which is actually an increase from where we saw this time year to date last year, where it was sitting at about 6.9%. So the rate at which the average sold price is actually increasing, there's no sign just with the data we have right now that it's going the opposite direction. But we'll save more for kind of the commentary for the summary. Let's talk about the condo market now. So this time last year, we had about 240 condos available on the market. Now it's 110. So big drop compared to where we were this time last year. That's pretty much been the exact trend for what we've saw every previous month of the year, though. It's just been like a third, a quarter of what the inventory usually is as far as condos go. Now, the next thing we're seeing is the number of condos that have actually sold has decreased as well. On average, we're seeing approximately about 100, maybe 110 condos that have sold every month so far this year, with the exception of the first quarter, where we were looking closer to about 70 or 80 condos for a couple months there. But usually it's been around 110 or so. So not a whole lot of condos are selling proportionally like for the entire market. But for those that are going on to the market, as you can see, we're seeing quite a few of them are actually selling. It's about 110 in, about 100 out. So pretty good success rate. Now, the next thing that we're seeing is the average sold price in Anchorage for condos has actually increased by approximately 4.3%. Last year, it was about 6.3%. So we're seeing a little bit of a decrease at the rate at which it's increasing. It's still going up, though, because the average sold price for a condo in Anchorage this time last year was about 230, and now it's 240. So we are still seeing an increase for the average sold price. Let's take a break here real quick. For those of you who've been watching for a bit, you do know that I have a seller guide for those of you who are considering getting your property on the market in the near future. If that is something you're considering to get your property on the market here in the near future, feel free to reach out to me. Go to my website and put seller guide in the registration when you're getting yourself registered at the website so I know what to send you. Now, let's go and finish up today's market update. Now, looking at the multifamily market, this continues to be a pretty interesting segment of the market to be tracking. So really the big thing that I'm seeing is that this time last year, there was about 155 multifamily properties that were available on the market. Now it is 77. So previously, 150 was a pretty low number of multifamily properties to have on the market. And now that just got completely cut in half. So yes, inventory is pretty low as far as multifamily goes. The next thing that we're seeing is the number of properties that actually sold this time last year for the multifamily did kind of get cut in, well, not kind of, it got cut in half too. Cut in half as well. We see that there was about 48 properties that sold this time last year in the multifamily sector for that previous month, and this year it's about 23. So you can definitely see a kind of a dropping off of the number of properties that are actually selling, partly just because some of the, a lot of the multifamily properties don't really make sense to purchase at this point just because the sellers are asking too much and they're not really taking into consideration how much their property is actually worth, because it's going to be worth whatever the rental income is. And a lot of property owners are just seeing the increase for the residential properties and going, oh, that means my fourplex is worth this much more now. It's like, no, it does not. Completely different property classification. There's a little bit of that, but not really. It's mostly going to be tied to your rental income you can get for the property. So let's take a look though and see what's going on as far as the average sold price for properties that are multifamily here in Anchorage. So this time last year, we saw an increase of about 15% for the average sold price for multifamily in Anchorage. Now we're seeing about 4 or 5%. That's obviously a big dip in the rate at which it's increasing. Not unexpected though. The average sold price did go up from about approximately $500,000 to about $520,000, which about what we would expect. We are seeing an increase for the value of what multifamily properties are right now, just because the rents are going up, which does in turn make the value of those income producing properties go up as well. Let's go ahead and get a little bit more specific though, because I had a theory that got postulated just a little bit ago saying, well, the reason we're seeing an increase for the average sold price across the entire board is because we have all these rich people just buying these big expensive houses, which in turn is just artificially inflating the average sold price across the board. So let's take a look at what we see in the numbers for the previous year compared to now. And looking at the data, I am really just not seeing that right at the moment. I am seeing there's a lot of momentum going, specifically in the first-time homebuyer price range, where the average sold price is actually usually about 1 to 2% above whatever the asking price initially was for the property. And that really has been the case for the last year as well. The rate at which that's gone up has actually gone up faster than the other ones. That and the average sold price, or the average days on market for properties in Anchorage, was 17 days last year, and now it's 14. So the time in which properties are going under contract is actually faster now than what it was before. So what does that mean for those of us who are looking at the market and trying to get a good sense for what's going on? Well, number one, nobody has a crystal ball. No one knows for sure what's going to happen. I can tell you what I'm seeing in the data right at the moment though, and that is I'm not really expecting any big collapse anytime soon, just based off the factors that I'm seeing, and that's because the inventory remains so low that it would take a big effort or a big event that would really create any kind of a collapse in this market. So again, could be drastically wrong, but realistically, I'm just not seeing it based off of the numbers, and the average sold price continues to go up. I understand interest rates are a little bit higher right now, and some of you might be thinking it might be a really good time to just wait until interest rates go back down. But the thing is, you can get something right now, ride that appreciation up and for another year or so, and then refinance whenever the interest rates do come down. Okay, the rate of the rents going up is going to be so much faster than what the interest rates would be. Okay, because those rents are going to go up, but your mortgage stays the same. And if we're in an environment where we're seeing the cost of renting going up exponentially, which that's doing that across the entire country, then it makes more sense to get something locked in now. And then if it makes sense later, if the interest rates do come down, then you can just refinance and get a lower payment later. Okay, but that's a lot more stability than going with renting and just rolling the dice that the rents are not going to go up, which they will. So I sure hope this has been useful for you. If it has, give this video a like, subscribe, and we'll see you later.